Joining me now, Congressman Michael Burgess, a member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Congressman, welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
Thank you, Gerri.
These emails today, pretty astonishing. We find out, let me read them to you. The CEO of Solyndra, Brian Harrison, will appear voluntarily and answer the committee's questions on any day the committee chooses beginning next week. And then they decide, well, maybe not. What's going on there?
Well, I actually wondered last week when we heard that the CFO couldn't come in, but if we would wait a week, both the CEO and the CFO would appear voluntarily in front of the committee, wouldn't take the fifth, and would answer all our questions. I thought they're not getting good legal advice because this doesn't sound like a good idea for them, but I was hopeful that in fact would happen. In fact, right at the end of July, they were on the Hill, and one of the Democratic members of the committee said, the Solyndra executives are up here and they'd like to come talk with you because they're really doing fine, and that's what they've told us. So both Mr. Waxman and the ranking member of the subcommittee were also anxious to hear from the Solyndra executives, because why tell us you're doing fine when you're pleading bankruptcy just a few weeks later? So it was a question that really would have been great to ask in a committee hearing under oath.
Well, Congressman, you saw it coming, but tell me, was this just an outright lie they were giving you guys about their financial situation?
You know, that's obviously what has to be dissected out of all of this. And let me just be clear. I mean, I am in favor of solar energy. My district is in Texas. I look forward to the day where I can put solar panels on my roof and cool my house in the summer with the heat, with the rays from the sun. I want that day to come. But this thing has only delayed that day, because now people look at it and say, this business model doesn't work unless you pump oodles and gobs of federal money into it, and at the end of the day, people walk away from the project. So they've really harmed, for people who are in favor of solar energy, this has really harmed the prospect of us ever getting residential solar at the level of our homes. Now, what the email showed us is over the last 2 years, and the people at the Department of Energy saw that this thing wasn't going to cash flow beyond, they said, September of 2011, and they saw that 2 years ago. So it shouldn't be any surprise to any of us today. The real tragedy is we've been working for months since the Republicans got the majority, laboring in obscurity, trying to get these documents produced for the committee. And it actually, the middle of July, I had to introduce a resolution of authorization to go to a subpoena because we'd been stiffed by the Department of Energy and the Office of Management of the Budget.
So you're not getting a lot of cooperation out of the administration. I get that. But let me tell you what I found today, looking at some of the company's S-1 filings. What happened is that in September of 2009, when this company was getting the money, the CEO got a big bump in pay raise, and he got a big stock option award. So it raises the question, what did they really plan to do with that money? Were they just going to give it in payouts to executives? Is this something you're looking at as well?
Yes, and not just through our committee, but the Judiciary Committee is looking at it as well. Really, our purpose in looking into this was to make sure that the proper procedures were followed in dealing with the public's money for these loan guarantees. And it was only when we got blanked that it really pushed it to the next level. You know, if you're hiding stuff from us, we can only imagine what actually is happening. And as I've told several people in the administration, the more you obscure it to us, the worse my imagination goes, because I can only, again, I've got a fertile imagination, and I can only imagine what you're doing with this stuff.
That's certainly what the media is doing, I'll tell you, and we're looking into every angle of it, that's for sure. Listen, there's another $9 billion in this program that's set to roll out by the end of the month. You guys have to put a stop to this. We can't be paying out money to companies like this. Come on.
Yeah, even today, I'm doing everything I can to add that to the continuing resolution, to put a resolution of disapproval. Yes, that is a mistake. It's wrong. We need to do everything we can to put a restraining order on those funds.
All right, I have to ask you about Interior Secretary Ken Salazar, who even today is saying we've got to spend this money. The government has to get behind it. Here's his quote. I think the future for solar energy is bright. It's not going to be a perfect path where every project proposed is going to be built towards completion. Come on. Are they blind to the problems here? What's going on?
No, Ken Salazar lost all credibility with me last year when he wouldn't come testify to our committee when the Deepwater Horizon was going on. I see nothing that's happened today that would reestablish his credibility.
All right. What are you expecting out of your hearing on Friday? Look, at the end of the day, you're going to be asking questions, and you're going to be told, I can't answer that because it might incriminate me. Is there any reason to have this hearing?
Yes, there is, because number one, you never know. We've seen it happen before. People say, don't bother, I'm going to take the fifth, and then they get in and they decide that they're going to come clean. So that could happen. I don't look for that to happen. Again, last week I wondered about the quality of legal advice that these two executives were getting if they were agreeing to appear and answer all questions, because there's a high likelihood that they'll incriminate themselves, and they do have a constitutional protection against doing that. But the hearing still is important. It's still important to put those questions out there on the record that the executives refuse to answer after taking $500 million from the American people.
All right, Congressman, thanks for coming in tonight. We really appreciate your time. We'll be back in touch, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.